I'm starting a 5-year mission to build total freedom, but I know you can't run a marathon until you can walk. For me, and for you, this $10,000 is the first mile.
Picture this. You're sitting on your couch. It's maybe a Tuesday night. Nothing particularly dramatic is happening, and you open your banking app. Not because you're excited to. You kind of already know what you're going to see. And sure enough, the number stares back at you, and it's just fine. Not bad enough to panic, not good enough to feel anything close to secure. And in that moment, you think the same thought you've been thinking every few weeks for the last year or two. I really need to start saving more money. Then you close the app, you watch something, you go to bed. Now here's the thing. I'm not telling that story to make you feel bad. I'm telling it because it's one of the most common, human, quietly frustrating cycles that exists in personal finance, and almost nobody talks about why it keeps happening. They just tell you to cut the lattes or make a budget, as if you haven't heard that 100 times already. So today, I want to do something different. I want to walk through how someone with a real income, real expenses, real life pressure can realistically save $10,000 in 2026. Not through a miracle, not by working 4 jobs, but by understanding a few things about how money actually behaves, how your psychology gets in the way, and what a real plan actually looks like. Before we get into the actual steps, I want to spend a minute on something that I think gets completely skipped over in most financial videos. What's actually at risk here isn't just $10,000. It's the feeling of control over your own life. Think about the last time something unexpected happened, a car repair, a medical bill, a month where work slowed down, and you didn't have money to handle it. That feeling isn't just stressful, it's disorienting. It changes how you show up everywhere. At work, at home, in relationships. Financial stress doesn't stay in your bank account, it follows you around. And here's what the research actually shows. A 2023 study by the American Psychological Association found that money remains the #1 source of stress for American adults, above work, above health, above relationships, #1. And yet we treat it like this awkward topic that you're either embarrassed about or supposed to somehow just figure out on your own. The $10,000 goal isn't arbitrary. For most people, that number represents what psychologists call a psychological floor, the point where your nervous system starts to actually relax. It's not full financial freedom, but it's the difference between surviving a bad month and spiraling into debt because of one. So when I say save $10,000 this year, I don't mean it as a flex or a milestone you put on a vision board. I mean it as a foundation, something real, something that gives you options. And here's the first thing most people get completely backwards about saving. They think saving is about what you don't spend. But really, saving is about what you decide first. Let me explain that. Here's the conventional advice. Make a budget, track every purchase, cut out subscriptions, stop eating out, save whatever's left at the end of the month. Sounds logical, right? The problem is, that model assumes willpower is infinite, and it isn't. Every financial psychologist will tell you that the end-of-month saving approach is almost guaranteed to fail, not because people are lazy or disciplined, but because by the time the end of the month rolls around, the money has already told its own story. Life happened. Small decisions stacked up. The whatever's left is usually almost nothing. There's actually a name for this in behavioral economics. It's called present bias, the tendency to overvalue what's in front of you right now compared to what's good for your future self. Your brain isn't broken, it's just wired to survive today, not to optimize for a version of you 12 months from now. So the budgeting system most people were taught is working against how their brain actually functions. That's not a character flaw, that's a design mismatch. And here's something else I want you to sit with for a second. Most people don't have a saving problem, they have a sequencing problem. They pay rent, they pay bills, they pay for food, subscriptions, going out, and then they try to save whatever's left. But the people who consistently build savings have learned one counterintuitive thing. They pay their savings first, before the spending even starts. They make saving automatic, then they live on what remains. It sounds simple, but the psychology behind it is actually profound. When saving happens automatically, before you can touch it, it stops being a decision. And removing that decision removes the friction, the guilt, and the delay. That's the first real shift. But let's get specific, because I know you came here for a plan. $10,000 in 12 months sounds like a lot, but let's break it down so it stops feeling abstract. $10,000 divided by 12 months is about $834. Divided by 4 weeks, it's roughly $208. Broken down to daily, it's about $27 a day. Now, some of you heard that and immediately thought, I don't have $27 to spare. And maybe that's true in your current setup, but here's what I want to explore with you. It might mean you need to earn more. It might mean your money needs to be redistributed, not inflated. Let's walk through what I would actually do if I were starting this from zero. Step 1 is a financial audit, not a budget. There's a difference. A budget is a plan going forward. An audit is an honest look backward. For one full month, just one, I'd want to know exactly where every dollar went. Not to judge it, just to see it clearly. Most people, when they do this for the first time, find somewhere between $200 and $400 a month that's going toward things they genuinely don't care about. Subscriptions they forgot about, ordering food out of convenience rather than enjoyment, impulse purchases that brought zero lasting satisfaction. I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting you strip your life down to nothing. That approach makes people miserable and they quit. I'm suggesting you get honest about what actually brings you value versus what just happens by default. Step 2 is automating the saving before the spending. After the audit, you have a clearer picture of your real disposable income. Now you create a separate savings account, not in the same place where your checking account lives, so it's slightly inconvenient to access, and you set up an automatic transfer the day after payday. Even if it starts at $150 or $200, the amount matters less than the habit, especially in the beginning. This is called paying yourself first, a concept that's been around since George Clason wrote The Richest Man in Babylon almost 100 years ago. It still works because human psychology hasn't changed. Step 3 is what I call the friction reduction strategy. Most of your spending isn't intentional, it's reactive. You're tired, you order food. You're bored, you scroll and buy something. You're stressed from work, and a $60 purchase feels like relief for about 12 minutes. So instead of just cutting things out, which creates resistance, you make it slightly harder to spend impulsively and slightly easier to save intentionally. Delete the food apps from your home screen. Use a credit card that has a small spending delay instead of instant tap payments. Move your savings app to the front page of your phone instead. These are tiny friction adjustments, but the compounding effect on behavior is significant. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because I haven't talked about the income side yet, and that's where a lot of people are leaving real money on the table. Step 4 is the income audit. Most personal finance advice focuses on cutting expenses, and cutting is useful up to a point, but there's a floor. You can only cut so much before you're just making yourself unhappy. But income has a ceiling, but most people are operating way below it. I'm not talking about working yourself into the ground. I'm talking about honest questions. Is there a skill you have that someone would pay for? Freelance, one weekend consulting project, selling something you no longer use, a small local service. Even one extra $300 to $500 a month changes the math dramatically. It makes the $10,000 goal feel significantly less pressured. Here's the quiet math. If you're saving $500 a month automatically and you find one additional income source that generates even $300 a month, you're at $800 a month. That's $9,600 in a year. You add one strong month, maybe a tax refund, maybe a bonus, maybe one solid freelance project, and you've crossed $10,000. It doesn't require a dramatic life change. It requires intentionality applied in two directions at once. Here's the part of the video that I think actually matters the most. And it's not a strategy, it's a reframe. Most people treat saving money as a form of punishment, like you're taking something away from yourself, like you're depriving your present self to reward some future version of you that doesn't even feel real yet. And that's exactly why it doesn't stick. What if you thought about saving differently? Not as restriction, but as purchasing future freedom. Every dollar you save isn't a dollar you're losing. It's a dollar that's buying you the option to make a different choice later. The option to leave a job that's draining you. The option to take care of a family member. The option to say no to something that doesn't align with your values. The option to simply not panic when life surprises you. That's not abstract. That's one of the most concrete things money can buy, and most people never frame it that way. There's a psychologist named Shlomo Ben-Artzi who's done a lot of research on how people relate to their future selves. And one of his key findings is that people who can visualize their future self save significantly more than those who can't. When your future self is a real person to you, not some stranger you don't care about, the decision to save becomes an act of care, not sacrifice. So here's the turning point. Stop trying to motivate yourself to save with fear. Fear works short-term and burns out. Start connecting the saving to something you actually want, a specific feeling, a specific kind of life, a specific kind of choice you want to be able to make. What does $10,000 actually give you? Safety, breathing room, confidence, options. That's the goal. The number is just what it costs. Let me give you a structure that's actually usable, nothing extreme, nothing that requires you to reinvent your life this weekend. The first thing you do is a 1-month audit. Just look back, no judgment. Get a clear picture of where your money is actually going versus where you thought it was going. That awareness alone is worth more than any budgeting app. Then you define a number. How much can you realistically set aside automatically every month? If you're starting from zero, be honest. Maybe it's $200, maybe it's $400. Don't pick a number you'll resent in month 2. Pick a number you can live with for 12 consecutive months. Then you separate. Open a savings account, ideally a high-yield savings account where your money earns something while it sits there. As of 2026, many high-yield accounts are still offering around 4 to 5% APY, which means your $10,000, once you reach it, will generate a few $100s a year in interest just sitting there. That's not investing, it's just not letting your money be lazy. Then you automate the transfer. The day after your paycheck hits, the money moves. You don't see it, you don't decide about it, it just goes. And then, this part is important, you review it quarterly, not daily. Checking your savings account every day is like weighing yourself every hour. It creates anxiety without creating progress. Set a quarterly check-in. How am I tracking? Do I need to adjust? Is there a month where I can add a bit extra? The last piece is finding one income lever you haven't pulled yet. Not 5, just one. An unused skill, an item you've been meaning to sell. One client project, one referral you haven't asked for. One extra source that puts an additional $200 to $500 into the equation. Stack that alongside the automated saving, and $10,000 by the end of 2026 isn't a dream, it's a math problem with a clear solution. I want to leave you with something that has nothing to do with spreadsheets. The fact that you're watching a video like this, that you're here thinking about this, taking it seriously, says something about you. Most people won't do this. Most people will close the banking app and go back to the couch and tell themselves they'll think about it later. You're already doing something different. And I know how easy it is to watch a video like this, feel motivated for a few hours, and then let it fade into the background of everything else you're trying to manage. That happens. It happens to everyone. It's not failure, it's human. But here's what I want you to take away from this, more than any tactic or strategy. Progress is not linear. You will have months where you save almost nothing. You'll have unexpected expenses that knock you sideways. You'll have moments where it feels like you're starting over. That's not the plan falling apart. That's just life moving through the plan.
What matters isn't whether you have a perfect year. What matters is whether you're still at it in March, and in July, and in October. $10,000 isn't a mountain that requires extraordinary people. It's a path that requires ordinary consistency, applying with a little more intention than before. You don't need to overhaul everything this weekend. You need to do one thing, just one. Open a separate savings account, set up one automatic transfer, do the audit, pick one. That one thing is where it starts. And a year from now, sitting with a number in your accounts that actually means something, that feeling, that quiet kind of confidence, it's real and it's available to you. You just have to decide it is. If this video made you think about money a little differently today, that's enough. Drop a comment letting me know the one step you're going to take first. I read every single one. And if you know someone who's been quietly stressed about money, share this with them. Sometimes the most useful thing isn't advice, it's just knowing someone else gets it.